This is Action Wrestling News with your lead reporter, CEO Matt Griffin.
All right, sir. We are live. We are back. Action News Report. He made it back in one piece from his vacation in the private islands, the private action islands that he went to. Matt Griffin with us tonight. Welcome back, Matt. Welcome back to Action News. It's been a little bit.
It has.
We've been away.
Thank you for spilling the secret that Action Wrestling secretly owns several tropical islands.
Well, I never said you owned them. I just said it was their private islands, not necessarily own them. We just utilize them. It's kind of like a timeshare. So it's been a little bit. We were talking in the green room a little bit. Southeast First, obviously, was the last time we spoke, was just before Southeast First. So some things have changed. Things are different today than they were then, I would say. Can I get my hands in a timeshare on Action Island? Val, we can set you up for a nominal fee.
I may be booked up, but I can ask Alex Kane what the availability on Suplex Island is. If you want to be thrown around by Alex Kane for a bit,
there might be
possible.
There might be some availability, Val. We'll check. We can check that out. But yeah, Southeast First. Wow. So before I let you kind of go off on it, I got to be there live. The arena was packed. Everybody was buzzing. There was people there that you probably didn't know were there in the crowd to be in person for such an epic event. It really was Southeast First, and it really was a big event for the Southeast. So how did it go? You got any fun stories from the night? Because I watched you set stuff up. I've watched you put shows on, and things always kind of happen. So anything you could tell us about how that show went?
I mean, I was phenomenally happy about the show. We had some fairly modest goals for viewership that we discussed with IWTV and surpassed them. The viewership on VOD has been tremendous. Our February numbers were really good, and considering people had 10 days after the event in January, and those were our highest numbers, basically a lot of people realized it was an event that they wanted to see or watch back, and did, and that was great. We had several people like, for example, Ivan FireJ. Shout out to our friend. He created an incredible video from the match and from that night, and it was so good. We used it on our social media, courtesy of him. IWTV used it on some of their streams. When you have so many people talking about it, wanting to be a part of it, and then when you follow it up with something that nobody knew about, which is AC Mack winning uncharted territory for us for the Southeast. On the you can watch that on the WWR show with his match with Willow Nightingale. It's been a tremendous several weeks, because Southeast First was such an important show. I talked about it, like why it was important, and I never really could tell, because it wasn't just a single show, because we were trying to set the table for all of 2022 and really come back. And it's not just for us with Action Wrestling, it's for hopefully for the entire Southeast. And we wanted every promotion down here to buy in. That's why there were so many promotions who had representatives and were a part of it. And leading into uncharted territory, which is going to stream from our sister promotion, TWE in Chattanooga.
Huge news.
I mean, it's it's gigantic. It really, I'm not sure everybody in the Southeast realizes how big it's going to help a lot of people down here, and it can even help a lot of wrestlers just who might not even be on that show. But if it helps the promotions that they work for gain in prominence and gain, and that means more eyes are going to be on them on IWTV. It's going to be more social media traffic, going to be more merch sales, more interests throughout the IWTV landscape in general. So it's um, I mean, it's a big deal, and it's still just getting started. AC Mack kicked it all off by defeating Alex Shelley, and with what he said afterwards, that's why our March 4th show this Friday basically was like, all right, I want to call it The Movement Begins, because he declared it's a movement, and I like that idea. We've been trying to say that we really want to do something down here, and
It's happening.
it's
happening.
It's happening. As far as that show, we had it screening in the locker room, and it's on about a minute delay from the IWTV feed to what's happening live. So I saw something in the building, and I walked back into the locker room, which is the Tyrone Town Library. We had it up on a huge screen. It's a projector screen. I saw something live, and I walked back, and I heard one of the well-known action wrestlers make a comment, and the whole room, it's about 15 or 20 wrestlers watching the show, watching what's going on, just completely exploded in laughter. So it's real fun when you have all the wrestlers, and when we're able to stream live, and we are able to have everybody watching it like that. They want to see, if they had an early match, they want to see how the show's going, how did they set the table for the matches that are coming after them. If they're wrestling later, they want to see, it's like, all right, can I feel out the crowd? What are people reacting to? What have the fans seen? What has been done? What hasn't been done? What's getting over? It was an interesting show because we had so many new talents, and a lot of those wrestlers wrestled for the first time in this building against other wrestlers who hadn't wrestled in this building, or they returned after a long time, so they might as well be new. So it's always going to be interesting with a crowd response dynamic. And we had by far our longest show in the building, and
no intermission. No intermission.
No intermission either. But we really needed to come out swinging and have as big a show as possible.
Yeah. So you mentioned the wrestlers kind of seeing if they were able to kick things off, if they followed up the last match. Normally, in the last couple of shows, Jaden Newman's actually been one of the first matches of the night. But on that night, we had Damian Tangra versus Merck, and two entrances that probably are now number 1 and 2 for entrances at Action Wrestling. When did that come up? Did both of those guys kind of put that together themselves? Did you guys work on that? Because that was something else to start the night off.
Yeah, that was honestly, Merck is real creative. He has a lot of contemporaries that he leans on for advice. Like Warhorse, for example, is a big influence on Merck, and Merck's a real student in the game. He's wrestled in Mexico. He's wrestled in Japan. So he was really trying to accept the challenge of not just making this another show. And so he enlisted others to go ahead and be able to have a really cool entrance. Damien actually gave me a couple options. He's like, do you want me to do this? You want me to do this? You want me to do this? But without spoiling it, he's like, I want you to be surprised. I'm like, okay. So I had no idea what Damien's was going to look like, because he wanted to pop me. So he did, and they had a really good match. Both wrestlers are pretty well known in our building, so that was a nice, even though it was for the TW Championship, that was really nice to be able to kick off, and they got us off to a hard start, which is, there's different schools of thought. I think the first match on a show is the most important, because if you have a not so great first match, the second match or third match have to be really great to compensate. If you have a really hot, a really great match to start in its place, and it's executed well, and people are get into it and buy in, it's easier for there to be, in my opinion, to be a little bit of a letdown for the second match because like, all right, well, maybe it wasn't as good, but it did something else. Maybe it was character work, maybe it was just a shorter match. And then, you know, card flow is really, really interesting because you can't just stack everything back to back. You can't just like, it's it definitely can be a science.
Yeah. No, it's impressive how you guys put a card together, because you really can hurt a match if you don't combine the card properly, and it won't get the attention, or it won't get the enthusiasm for the crowd if you put it, if the crowd's exhausted because you put 3 in a row that basically are just boom 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 high speed matches. By that 4th match, the crowd might just be dead, like they just can't handle it. But you guys lay it out pretty good, and obviously not having an intermission made it even harder.
And this is a big type of show. You have lots of wrestlers who, if they really understand truly what it's about, they want to show out with the best match they possibly can have. Doesn't mean they do like every dive you can do in there. You don't pull out every gun in your arsenal, but you want to make sure you capture the moment and really have a peak, because it's potential. It's what's it matter if you have a good match that nobody ever sees after it's over. This is something that went out live. People are live tweeting it, which encourages people who may not have seen it live to go back and watch it. There's, if you have a show with visibility, people are writing reviews, which encourage more people to go back and look on. And we can see the numbers have been good. So you want to have the best showing that you possibly can. Maybe show you and maybe break out a new move, but maybe something new with your character. But you really want to land everything, because it can be, and as far as taking up with a promotion too, if you're representing a promotion, if you're a top wrestler for them, for this promotion that you're representing, that can also lead to more eyes on that promotion. So that can benefit, it's not just one match, it can benefit your whole promotion and you down the line. I mean, because that's only going to help.
Yep. No, I mean, obviously Southeast First had all eyes on it, and it was a big opportunity for guys. One of the matches that truly turned into a big opportunity, Landon Hale, Eli Knight. Holy cow, that match. Now, I expected that to be a banger of a match, because we've seen those two tangle before at SCI Futures in a triple threat with Whisper. But for them to put pretty much almost a perfect match out there for the event that we were doing, and then I want to know, was that a spur of the moment thing after the match, or was that something?
100. It was a spur of the moment, to the point where I don't think it's available. You can watch it on the video, but right after the match is over, I cross over, trying to duck out of the way of the hard cam, and I go to Scott Hensley, and we're the two bookers for SCI. And and I'll just tell you, Landon Hale and Eli Knight are both, people we obviously have interest in. Eli was very high up on the possibles list. And I just said, Eli's got to be an SCI. And that's no shade to Landon Hale, who had a tremendous performance as well. Eli's a little bit further along in his career and experience level, where he's at. But I said, Eli's got to be an SCI. And Scott said, you want to do it now? So that's as much preparation. So we didn't even have like, all right, Scott's like, all right, I'll start. And it's like, okay, and then I'll finish. And that's as far as like when he sets it up to make sure everyone knows we're talking about SCI. But Eli did not know. He did not have any cue. It was not something that was planned. Like, all right, if it goes well, we're going to announce it. It felt right. And it's like, all right, let's do it.
It was an awesome moment. Yeah, you could tell Eli was genuinely like excited about it too. So
that's a great that's a great moment. Eli's in circles, like his traveling partner and friend, and who he lost the pinfall to at SCI Futures is Robert Martyr, and Martyr pinned Eli to win Futures. And had Eli won, defeated Martyr to win Futures, or Billy Starks, who was the third in there, any one of them could easily have won Futures. It was a interesting booking decision to make, because all three could have been the right choice. So, Eli knows the importance of, what's going on about this tournament that's been built. I didn't create the tournament, but I've been there from day one, and I'm creating it moving forward, and really trying to, I hate the term building the brand, but that's what we're doing with, with SCI Action. We're partners with TWE and Southern Underground Pro and friends, and we're all trying to use that, another buzzword I hate. We're trying to use that synergy to build up um, uh, more attention for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want to have our own little island where we all, it's like, all right, I'm the king of, nobody wants to just be the king of their own area, because I want to push my shows out. I want to compete in the big circles. Obviously, I mean, this is something I've said in the past before. Maybe it'll make a little more sense now, but I want Action Wrestling to be on par with Beyond. We want to be constantly punching up. We're not the biggest or best promotion in the United States, but we aspire to be. And that's kind of where, creatively we are. We don't want to just, all right, we drew this house and it's a nice house and everyone goes home and everyone comes back a month later. We want our shows to have lasting impact. Action Wrestling has been covered in Pro Wrestling Illustrated. In the most recent issue, there's a picture of AC Mack, and
Yep.
it talks about the title win in Tyrone, Georgia. That's very cool. It's about making those things regular, being a part of the wider indie wrestling universe.
Yep. The buzz from last show has lasted to this week. I feel like Action Wrestling has been on the tip of everybody's tongue for a full 30 plus days now. Like it's a great situation right now. So everybody in the chat's really looking forward to Friday. I asked them, what are they most looking forward to for this week and what's coming up on Friday? What are you most looking forward to on Friday?
Anyone in the chat, hit me up with some questions. I want to freestyle some stuff. This Friday's huge. I mean, it comes off the success of Southeast First. We have, just like AC Mack was the #1 contender to take on the IWTV World Champion Alex Shelley. Now it's a situation where the PWI rankings are out. #1 contender is Masha Slamovich. She is coming in to challenge AC Mack. So we're actually in the exact same situation as Southeast First, except that Masha is obviously the outsider here. AC Mack challenged in his home and now is defending in his home turf. Action Wrestling, we absolutely claim AC as legit, not just our day one guy, but our match one guy. And it's going to be something. I don't know what we'll see, and that's not. I mean, now we're in a situation where we've, I hope, if AC retains regularly, possibly we'll be having 2 singles titles defended per show, because we got the IWTV World title, and we've got the Action Championship, which is held by Eric Royal.
Yeah. All right, so Vic is looking forward to Masha and AC, of course, Flacco and Star, and could you imagine the Baby Dragon Open Challenge?
I can imagine, because we had a graphic made and announced it.
Yeah, that makes sense. The captain is in the chat, Captain Chuckles. If Eric Royal retains against Coup, who is the next #1 contender, or list a few?
List a few?
Or just one. He said, who is the #1 contender, or list a few, if there isn't a #1 contender.
It's so interesting to, I get asked questions like this sometimes, and it's what can really make it hard is it's so fluid, because we have, from show to show, such good matches, and we have, I wanted to create an atmosphere where, the champion is the top dog. The belt our championship belt is not just a piece of hardware that you cart around from town to town. It has meaning. It means something. AC Mack carried the title for over 2 years. Eric Royal has been the champion for over a year now. So, that's something that you have, a lot of longevity with as well. As far as who the next potential challengers up would be for Eric Royal, he's down a lot of wrestlers. I could see, I could easily see Damian Tanger being a challenger for the Action Championship. He's in a successful tag team right now. He didn't beat Merck, so he had a stumbling block. He didn't beat Merck for the TW Championship, but all Tanger would need is a singles win or two, and he'd be right back there in the hunt. I think Anthony Henry, who regularly appears in Action Wrestling, could, if and this is a wild one, and I could easily see if he ever returned, which I don't know that he has plans to, but Shug D becoming if he came back to singles wrestling, he had some success. If he came back to singles wrestling, I could easily see him as a top challenger. It's interesting because we have so many tag teams who team. We'll team 1 month, then they'll do singles matches the next month. I can't possibly see him actually at this point challenging, but who's strung some wins together in singles matches is Jaden Newman.
I was gonna ask, you got a guy who's starting to get some momentum, but he's also kind of the little henchman, the number one henchman of Eric Royal right now, working alongside him. Could there be a situation where they actually have to go head to head? So that would be interesting. What's really interesting is everybody you just named. So this is going to be a shameless plug. If all of you go back to IWTV and watch Action Wrestling, there's a huge catalog out there. You could see some of these stories are already playing out because Anthony Henry had a shot at Eric Royal at one point, but did not get it done because of a distraction from Shug D. Shug D has actually also had a head-to-head.
What's interesting too is I want to point out this is something that I really like. So at the time, Eric Royal was building up to challenge AC Mack, and we had Anthony Henry's run before he went to Florida. The only person Anthony Henry lost to was the next Action Champion in Eric Royal. And you're right, and Anthony did beat Shug D. We've had a lot of, we believe in shaking things up a lot. Daniel Makabe's debut in Tyrone, not in Action Wrestling, but in Tyrone, was to challenge Eric Royal, which was the third time they wrestled each other in 2021. We like to really shake things up. And his challenger this Friday, Kevin Koo, Eric Royal beat Dom Guarini in May live on IWTV as well.
Mm-hmm.
So realistically, there's a lot of different ways we can go, and I like it like that. I don't want anything to be overly predictable. There's a lot of things happening, and heck, we don't even know. Should he retain? We don't even know who AC Mack's challenger for the IWTV Championship would be on Saturday at SCI Rumble.
There's some things in the chat the chat's flying now. So who do you want to see challenge AC for the title?
I mean, that's a hard question because the list is just incredibly long. It's essentially everybody. It's essentially everybody. It's funny though. AC is, Action is his home promotion, but we don't control or book out for the IWTV World Championship. So that's something, there's a contendership that Pro Wrestling Illustrated publishes in the magazine every month, and then they have updates every week online. So, as far as who's on the list, there's a list of wrestlers very well known who had shots against Alex Shelley lined up that didn't happen. Matt Mikowski never got his title shot because AC Mack beat Alex Shelley. Anthony Henry never got his title shot. That was supposed to happen previously. Neither did Marcus Mathers.
Mm-hmm.
So there are
There's a list.
there are other yes, there are contenders in the wings there, and Masha Slamovich is the #1 contender. She's literally an internationally known wrestler. Spent some time in Japan year before last with the Marvelous promotion. So, and she's one of the top independent stars in the country right now. So, as far as what can happen, who knows at this point?
So, very important question. Vic wants to know, is the pizza at the action shows as good as I hear it is?
You know what, Vic? You can find out on Friday night, March the 4th at 7:30 p.m. by buying a ticket at action-wrestling.com and sampling some of the Partners Pizza, which is based right in Tyrone, Georgia. But yes, it's very good.
I wonder if we get Partners Pizza to sponsor us here. Put a little Partners Pizza logo on the bottom of the stream.
They have sponsored Action Wrestling before, and they're good, dear friends. They've been open for about 15 years now in Tyrone, and
it's a nice little strip right there of the. I mean, you got the Yellow Daisy, you got Partners Pizza. There's a lot of stuff right there, right by the rec center there.
We're very happy. I mean, it's great that we have businesses, wrestling related businesses and local businesses who want to support what we're doing, and that's probably the thing I'm most proud of, is that it's easy for me to buy in because I started Action Wrestling, but when wrestlers start to buy in and make it a big show, which makes it like like the Bald Monkeys want to invest, those are things that are huge deals to me personally.
Why didn't anybody tell me the chat wasn't showing? Like, the whole time we're sitting here, I'm reading the chat and it's not even showing on the screen. Sorry.
I don't know. I've told you multiple times that I do not understand.
It's okay. Superfan John Miller in the chat. Matt, do you see there ever being a next up stream on IWTV, or do you prefer it to have the smaller, more intimate feel?
Well, actually, Next Up has a streaming deal signed with the Bald Monkeys on Twitch, as I recall.
That's right. So you can catch Next Up. Now, I believe we've confirmed this, but let's do this live. Will there be a Next Up this Friday?
Yes.
So that means tune in right here Friday for Next Up live on our Twitch channel. We'll have behind the scenes. We'll have all the matches. Big Baby Jimmy will be with me. We'll do little quick interviews. Maybe we'll even get Grant to do an interview or two. It's a lot of fun. Tune in. So yes, that's the answer to that question.
Obviously, a lot of people are working at the time, but if you have your phone or tablet or can just throw it up on a screen or your computer, it's something nice to watch. I mean, Next Up is something that's so fun, and it just came organically out of nowhere because basically what happened is when we came back from lockdown, we had a lot of wrestlers show up and help out and set up the ring. Bobby Flacco was instrumental in doing that, or helping organize them and help us out with setup. And one day, we were set up pretty early, and I just said, "Hey, Bobby, does everybody have their stuff?" Because we were just sitting around at each other at like 2:30 or 3, and we had the ring set up. Does everyone have their gear? He said, "Yeah, well, let's do some matches. Let's and so then we did it again the next month, and I taped them, and I'm just on my phone, and I just said to Dylan Hales, it's like, look, do you think this is good enough if we do it like this? And this is the mindset where we could put it on IWTV. And we've had wrestlers come in to help out and get seen, and we've had wrestlers who you can tell Merrick Donovan and Jack Cujo, they had a match that was a 3-way match on Next Up, and we decided to add them to a stream. It was a unanimous, easy decision, because as the match was going on, I was like, I wonder if Jerry will say we have enough time, because it was live, so you have different issues going live as opposed to just doing a house show that you're taping for later release. So and basically, it's like, all right, do you think we can add this match in a singles match? And by the time I turn around, literally they're like, what we should do? We should add that as a match. And Kevin Koo was like, oh yeah, So it was like, all right, well, I turned around ready to plead my case as to like, hey, I think we should do this, and they were already right there. So it's, we've had wrestlers do next up that get onto TWE. That's how, for example, Landon Hale, Merrick Donovan got onto our Futures event. Some of the wrestlers that'll be in the SCI Rumble on Saturday
A lot.
became known to us through Next Up, and they got on TW. So it's, and as SUP in Nashville starts to run more shows, there's wrestlers who have been involved there that have gotten shots there as well for being known through us. And it's a way to get on a radar and get some good matches. It's our own like hybrid developmental, and that we get to take a look at different wrestlers and get to know them, because you can send a match. I can see it on YouTube. I'm not going to name a name, but there was a wrestler who sent me a match. I watched a couple minutes of it and turned it off. I was like, all right. Then they came to do a Next Up, and I was like, okay, that is the type of personality I want to see in what you send out, because what you send me is a match. It existed. It's not special. It doesn't open any doors. But what you did here personally, being able to see that, it's like, all right, now you're in consideration.
Yeah.
Now you're, it's, so it's been a very neat deal to see progress.
It's a lot of fun. I remember those first couple of times where you literally just had the handheld and you were just like, I'll tape it. I'll record this.
The first couple I did myself, because it's like, I want to make sure it's done how I want it. I'm gonna watch the matches. I'm the one who edits it. The idea creatively behind Next Up is that it's everybody doing something different. Like, yes, it's under the Action brand, but I'm not booking it. The matchmaker is Bobby Flacco, and it's Bobby because I want to give him the chance to, be able to create like, hey, this is what I want to do. And I'll have him sometimes make a case. Here's why I want to do the cards, because this, and this. And it's like, he's, I'm trying to teach him to, if he does decide to ever run a show or book a show someday, he's done it before. So he's gotten some reps in. I don't normally edit my shows, so I do that so I can get those reps in. Different things like that.
Next Up is a lot of fun. I enjoy being able to stream it live here, and it's fun to watch the guys work through learning and really get some really extensive coaching during Next Up also, because there's a lot of eyes on you that you don't even realize unless you go and do a Next Up. The majority of the roster for Action, whoever's coming in to wrestle, is watching you put on that show.
It is such a unique pressure, because there's not fans there. I mean, there's some people who ask, Next Up has always been open. If somebody asks and they want to come in, it's always been open. It's not a closed thing, but it's not something I'm going to advertise. But you're wrestling just mostly in front of your peers.
Yep.
So you really need to nail it. And, I try to tell everyone, it's like, look, you don't have to do 10 things well, but if you pick 3 or 4 things that you do really well, let's land those. Show me some personality. Don't take an 8-minute match and cram it into 4 or 5. Give me the best, 4-minute match you can, and give me some improv, and, pique my, don't show me everything you got. Pique my interest, so I want to see more. So I want to see and give you a chance to develop. And some people, sometimes for wrestlers, they're right out of training school. These are like their, some of their early reps, and they're not ready to be on shows yet, but it just puts them a little bit further to being able to be ready to be on a show. And that's a cool feeling too, to be able, because we want to help foster, the next generation and push them along. All right, so that's Friday. We've got the 2 big title matches, and Saturday is the SCI Rumble.
I have a lot of questions about the SCI Rumble, because I feel like the SCI Rumble is something that's always been talked about around me, and I'm aware of it, but the origin of it, like when did the SCI Rumble come into play? When was this before the SCI tournament? Was it after? What's the story behind the SCI Rumble?
Well, the first tournament for SCI was in 2015. So then we had 2016, which was the breakout revolutionary year. The Rumble was added in 2017, and that was the one that Tank won. And he declared, very funny, that he was going to retire later that year. And if you win the Rumble, you automatically get to be in SCI, and not only that, pick your opponent. Well, you don't have to pick your opponent at the Rumble, but as Scott Hensley was announcing, like he he mentioned that Matt Riddle was going to be there, and Tank's like, Matt Riddle's going to be, I want Riddle, and he was going to go out. He wrestled Matt Riddle in 2017 and retired in the ring. He's since been back, which I like to joke about with Tank, but we love having him back. He's had a career renaissance as well, with Dan Wilson doing shows like the ICW No Holds Barred for our New York friends, and that's gone well for him. And so he's in the Rumble this year, but he was the first winner, and we have not been able to have it since 2019, because in February 2020, there was a quote unquote snowstorm. They decided that they were going to close the schools. Unfortunately, by noon that day, everything was fine, but the decision had already been made and our hand been forced, so we had to cancel the show. So we have not had an SCI Rumble since 2019. But I'm very much looking forward to Saturday, because I get to have a big hand in that.
So 3 years of excitement, 3 years of surprises. John Miller is asking if we can expect surprises. I'm not going to ask him that question, John. We can just hope for surprises. Come on, I mean, don't sell it. But it's got to be a lot of anticipation, right? Like, it's got to be cool to be able to bring it back and bring it back to where I'm assuming this is where it's always been held, or majority of them have been held.
Sure. Well, in a school in Tennessee is where they've all been held, yes.
Yeah, always in a school.
Always in a school. As far as which school, I get the schools very confused. I have mixed up some of the high schools before. But we have we have hopefully a nice lineup, and it's diverse, and we got 30 different wrestlers who'll be in, and we got some really cool singles matches.
A couple of titles on the line, right?
We do. AC Mack, if he retains, is going to defend the IWTV World Championship. We have one of the last 10 matches of Avery Good, professional wrestler.
That's right.
Because it's hard if you watch the life of him. He's a teacher, so it's hard for him to travel on weekends. He got hurt. I had plans to try to use him over the summer. He got hurt, so he wasn't able to work over the summer. And then he one day declared on Twitter he's going to have 10 more matches. So I immediately messaged him. It's like, all right, what's it going to take to get one of those last 10 matches? So we were able to, and he's going to wrestle the Eric Royal, the Action Wrestling Champion. And that's a match that they both want. We have
non-title, right? Non-title match.
That'll be a non-title match. But for the title, we have the Southern Underground Pro Bone Storm Championship, which will have AJ Gray defending against Jaden Newman. We have this is a really unique match, kind of across the generations, and this just a short window where we can probably promote it, because Kyle Matthews is somebody else who retired at SCI and has since come back. But Kyle Matthews is going to wrestle Robert Martyr, the 2021 Action SCI Futures Champion. So that's a real cool match as well. And we've got others. We've got you can feel free to talk about whatever you want. Saudi Daisy's own Jax Dane is going to wrestle one of the young. Hey, He's been partially developed through Next Up and TWE, so he's a product of the circuit. Noah Hossman. Remind me of the rest of the SCI Rumble card because my mind is going completely dead. We have my kids, the Squatting Dragons,
Squatting Dragons.
They will be facing the final bosses of independent wrestling in Violence is Forever, which will be a non-title match, which I don't even know which titles it would be for because they have between them they have 6 tag belts. The champions in Action, SUP, and our friends at Black Label Pro.
Yeah, they are highly decorated.
Highly decorated.
I'm trying to look at the other matches, but I've only seen, I think you got most of them.
My mind is very shot from traveling from the Action Private Islands.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that.
But I mean, my mind and memory is terrible just to begin with. But
right.
I think we got everything. There's not another match that we need to get, I don't think.
Nope, I think that's all of them that have been announced, and I'm sure it'll be an interesting atmosphere. It's been my first time at the Rumble. It'll also be my first time at Saudi Daisy. So looking forward to seeing how that venue is and what the crowd's like. But you also, which is the worst secret out there, announced the 2 nights of the Scenic City Invitational.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a secret because we announced it, but yes, August.
The tweet literally said this is like everyone already knows what's coming, but here it is.
Well, because we shared the dates, we just didn't share like where it was going to be and all that.
Yeah,
I think we shared the dates right after the kind of like a save the date last year.
Yeah,
we didn't have the graphic made, and if you don't have a graphic made, does it really exist? Anyone can say anything.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna put on a wrestling show. Yeah.
I could say I booked Canuck Pro Wrestling, so that doesn't mean it's a thing that exists.
I was gonna say I don't know what that is.
Oh my God, you need to be on Twitter 3 years ago for Canuck Pro. I'll tell you offline. It's the best promotion I never.
I need to be on Twitter. Was I on Twitter 3 years ago? I might be. I have to go see where my first Twitter date was. So,
yeah, Rumble. I'm looking forward to the Rumble. We're streaming live both nights, so it's there's IWTV every weekend now has several streams, and it's a huge deal to be able to stream live. To me, it means the eyes of the independent wrestling world are on you. So, and we have the added not burden, but we had the added pressure of like, look, we've got to represent Southeast wrestling well because uncharted territory starts in 2 months. So we've got to go ahead and show it's like, hey, this is why you should be watching, and make sure it's going to be a Monday night appointment viewing.
It's pretty cool because that whole, shout out to AC and Ashton Star for being able to get uncharted territory down here in the South. But it's really cool, I feel like, for TWE because they just announced they're actually going to have a live show coming up from Chattanooga, and they also get uncharted territory. It's a big year for them. I mean, they really can.
It's a huge year. We the TW building this was a fantastic environment for SCI. TW itself has had 2 major houses their last 2 shows. ICW No Holds Barred streamed live from there, and Danny Struggs and Ron and whoever the decision makers are with ICW, they were so happy with how it went, they immediately decided to go back. They're going to be from the TW Arena next weekend. You're going, and that they're doing a Friday night and a Saturday night there. So it's a great environment, and the fact that TW itself gets to be live. Sink or Swim is a pretty major event for them. So that's, it's just, the pressure's on now. You got to produce because everybody can say, I want it. I want to be, I want to be on TV. I want a higher profile, I want bigger matches, but then you have to actually come through and produce. That's the hard part.
I got 4 shows this month on IWTV that I get to be at live, so I'm pretty excited about that. Should be
Good.
a good month of wrestling.
I'm fired up. It's it definitely can be a lot creatively. You know, it can be a lot to remember, deal with. You know, just logistically stuff with like flights, hotel rooms. You know, we've got some people flying in for Friday, and then leaving, and then some flying in just for Saturday and leaving, and it can be a lot to deal with at times, but it's also very rewarding and worth it.
I feel like this time last year was very different booking a show than this time this year. Obviously, there's a lot more promotions going right now too, so there's definitely a little bit more of that logistic struggle, I'm sure, with what you have to get done.
It can be, the more you take on, the more pressure there is, the more everything, the more talent inquiries you get, the more buildings you have on board, the more. I mean, even if it's good stuff, like even when you get, you have more viewership. On IWTV, that could mean that it's like, all right, there's more social media I got to keep up with, because to me, it's a priority to be able to converse with fans and to respond when someone tweets at us. That's doesn't sound like a long thing, but if you're real busy picking up the phone, even if you might have to pick up the phone in a restaurant to go ahead and retweet and respond. And I get emails, I get talent inquiries on Instagram, my personal one and the business one, Twitter, my personal one and the business one, Facebook, personal and the business one. I get random emails, I get people just tagging me. It's like, you get a lot. I mean, I literally sometimes forget how I converse with somebody. Do I talk to them on Twitter DM? Which account? And then there's some wrestlers who I mostly just text with, because that's the quicker way to reach them. So, everything, just, anything that adds, even 30 seconds to or a minute of time adds up.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's a good thing. That's what we wanted. You just have to make sure you parcel and budget your time. And on that note, with that segue, I'm going to have to wrap it up soon, because I got to go parcel time to plan out some stuff for Friday night.
And that's understandable. There's a lot going on this weekend. Vic wants to know when you're going to wrestle again.
Who?
Vic wants to know when can we see Matt wrestle again?
That's probably a really big donation for Vic.
Really big donation? Vic is. You tell Vic tells you to do stuff, and you just seem to do it. So I don't know.
I have done that before, yeah. We'll see. I'm not retired. I'm also not actively wrestling. So.
True.
We'll see. Angela Slane kicked the shit out of me in October.
But then Angela Slane got the shit kicked out of her by Tank.
Yeah, that did not negate how hard she hit me in October.
Oh, okay.
None of that lessened my pain. So there's a lot to it.
All right. So one last question, and I'll let you get to your booking. I'll ask you this every time we have one of these chats until I see it. When can we expect the Mattle Royal?
What Battle Royal?
Mattle.
We got the
Royal.
Rumble.
Mattle Royal.
The Mattle Royal. Oh, well, I will be honest. Friday night this year, April Fool's is a Friday night, and I really thought that would fit well with a show. But it's also Dallas weekend. I don't have a show. Most of our talent was going to be in Dallas, and I did not want to run something that wasn't, so we did not run. But that would be a perfect. Maybe we'll have to run Saturday, April 1st next year. But I do want to have a Mattle Royal. I want to collect any sort of MAT combination in somebody's name would qualify for the Mattle Royal. I do need at some point to do a show that just has every stupid idea I've ever thought of with the dumbest name possible.
That does sound like a good April Fool's Day.
Show.
Yeah.
There's some promotions who try to do that every show. It's like, oh, hey, look at this stupid idea. Okay. Is that comedy or? But no, I do have some really ideas I just want to do, mostly to pop and amuse myself. And that's not financially viable, which is why I don't do them. Believe
Fair.
me, most of my stupid ideas never hit an action ring.
Fair. Val, yes, we all can't wait. So Val actually has Angelus coming on later this month. So you come back here for that on Twitch.
Who?
Angelus Lane.
Oh, I'm gonna come torment the crap out of her.
Yeah, that'll be later this month. Next week we have Dale Springs, the golf father. So everybody should come back and hang out with Val for the stack on that one. But yeah, tune in Friday, IWTV Action Wrestling. Come here earlier in the day if you're somehow off or just have the ability to get on Twitch. Hang out with me and Big Baby Jimmy as we stream live from Tyrone next up. And then remember to tune in Saturday for the SCI Rumble.
It's a big weekend. Hashtag Southeast first.
Hashtag, yeah, use that. What's the hashtag going to be Friday night? Because I thought it was going to be the movement begins, but then Dylan tweeted something else out.
If Dylan tweets it, that's probably what it is. I usually go with his opinion just because he's far better at anything social media related than me.
I feel like it's the movement. I think that's what he tweeted out.
You know, I might just make it like hashtag GTA 6 or hashtag PlayStation 6 or something and see if we can really upset some people.
Hashtag PlayStation 6. All right. We'll use that for the next show. All right. Thanks, Matt. Where can everybody find you?
At Matt the Mouth on Twitter. For Action Wrestling, it's at Wrestle, WRESTLE, Action, and the number 1. It's Action Wrestling on Facebook and Instagram. And you can find us Friday night and Saturday night live on IWTV.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. Short one tonight, but you guys will be fine. You'll be back next week. Dale Springs, Golf Father, Val Pancakes. Be there.